When you make bad decisions, it's either going to go one or two ways, either good or really bad. Stay tuned. All right, step one of bad decision making. Yeah, this is going to be good here. Got to give a shout out to Josh Haynes for hooking me up. I'll tell you the story about this here in a little bit. All right, so a little bit of history about this. This is actually for a Ford 4.6 car. This Flexplate has been around since I had my shop, and I actually drilled it for the 10.5-inch bolt pattern probably 15 years ago. So here is a little Ford hack. Okay, I'm not saying do this, I'm just saying that it's a possibility. Most people do not know it, but the 6-bolt flange of a cast crank Romeo built 4.6 is exactly the same pattern as a traditional small block Ford. Okay, the only difference is these holes are slightly bigger because of the 7/16 bolts, and these are for 10 millimeter, I think it is. But this is a neutral balance flex plate, and just so happens, in fact, that's the flex plate that was in Casper with the 393. You can see the external balance there. So this is what I need for mixed up balls. So this is bad decision number one. This is not SFI approved, but I know that this flex plate has been 9s in the quarter mile, or low 6s in the 8th. How's that? That's the way I'm going to refer to it. So what I'm going to do is slightly enlarge the holes here, and we're going to try to put this in Casper. What could go wrong? What are we doing with bad decision number two? I'm getting ready to drive this thing to my buddy's shop over in Stanley. Jason Black, he's got a converter that he's going to let me try in Casper, since this one is capiche. So I think it's like a TCI Super Street Fighter or something like that. Anyway, it's got to be better than what I have, because that one's no good. And that is the reason why I needed the flex plate. So it's starting to make sense now, isn't it? Yeah, good stuff. Things you do to go racing. I got Casper ready to head back to my old hometown, Stanley, North Carolina. Now this proved to be a challenge Casper did not want to run. The torque converter, the stator, and the mechanical diode was frozen up, or whatever's going on with it wouldn't allow it to hardly idle when you come up to a stop sign or a red light. But my good friend Jason Black of Black's Auto Sales in Stanley told me that he could help me out. He had a converter that he would let me use, and so I made it to his car lot, as you can see here, and we proceeded to tear this thing apart. Now, Jason is an accomplished nitrous racer himself. If you want to see one of the baddest nitrous cars in the country, in my opinion, it's the boss man, Jason Black. Let's take a look at it. Well, this is what I would call bad decision number 3. Jason here. So we're taking the transmission out. I'm gonna put his converter in there. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, what is that, a TCI or something?
Mystery converter.
Mystery converter.
Very nice.
It's got a balloon plate. It's got some good stuff to it, so it's got to be better than this junk. So yeah, let's get this thing out of here and put a converter in it. What you think, boss man?
I do not know, sir.
It's a foobar, ain't it?
It's not a happy camper.
So just so you know, I don't know if it matters or not, but when you're doing this kind of stuff, you need to make sure that the depth of the converter is the same as what you're putting in there, because what was you saying about the difference in, there's one bell housing that's deeper?
The case field bell housing is 5/8 and 3/4 inch deeper
Yeah.
than the pan field.
Yeah.
So
So
it's an oddball.
there it is. So now it's time to put that unit in there, and hopefully I don't destroy it, or I'll owe him another converter. Hey, I done lost $5,000 because of that. I mean, what's a couple hundred more?
It's a trail of tears, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a trail of tears. $5,000 right here. You can see the mod motor flex plate bolted up to the small block Ford Windsor. Getting ready to drop the converter back in this thing. Get it back up in there and see what happens. Good stuff. Why do I do this? All right, next bad idea. We're gonna notch the bottom of this right here, because with that full length Mylodon pan, I was having to put the converter nuts on through the starter hole. Well, since we're using this bolt pattern, it's gonna make it almost impossible to do that. So we're gonna notch it so we can get to it from the very bottom. Makes sense to me. See how it works out. Making progress. You can see the window that we cut there made it easy to measure the converter depth into the pump. We had to shim it with a washer to get 3/16 of an inch, but there you go. That should help it run a little bit cooler, I would think. But mod motor flex plate neutral balance with a 10.5 inch bolt circle. Now let's get all this other stuff put back together. Well, this is what success looks like, making all the bad decisions. We still have one more bad decision to make, and that's getting this box of bolts to the track this coming Thursday. We were hoping to make it tonight, but we wound up running into things that we had to go and do. So yeah, it'll go in gear now. Well, I think it's about 10:30, something like that. Casper seems to be doing pretty good. Getting ready to take it for a test drive, but I want y'all to check this out. This is Jason's truck. He calls this Paw Paw. Now, being honest, he's wanting this truck to beat Casper. It's a pretty rowdy truck. I ain't gonna tell you what's in it, but it's really healthy. That right there should tell you something. But anyways, yeah, look at this. This is race truck stuff here. He'd probably kill me if he knew that I was out here videoing Paw Paw. So let's head back towards the house and we'll wrap this up tomorrow. I was going to do this tomorrow, which technically it is tomorrow. It's like 12:30, 1 o'clock out here. Just been riding around in Casper since leaving Jason's. Got to give him a huge thanks for helping me out with Casper today, swapping this converter out, modifying the bell housing, and letting me borrow that converter. Converter problems are fixed. Carburetor problems, not so much. This thing, man, is something else. It runs great wide open throttle, but at part throttle it pops, cracks, does all kinds of crazy things. So it's a really good thing that I didn't go to the drag strip tonight, because that would have been the ultimate bad decision, right? So this is what we're going to do. This gives me time to get these carburetors sorted out, okay? And we're going to go to the track next Thursday, or this coming Thursday, and see if we can get a new personal best out of Casper. Yes, we went 689 one time only, and everything else since then has been epic fails, including the race with Tony. So hopefully we can get this thing back on track. The reason why we're in such a hurry to get this thing back to the track and get it running a good number is there's some things coming up for Casper. So first I'm going to show you what I've got to do. I'm going to take the progression ignition distributor out of it and put the old trusty Mallory in it. Since I don't have the distributor gear for that, and I don't want to keep running it with that distributor gear, I do have a gear, brand new gear to fit the Mallory distributor, so I'll be taking it to the track with that. But the exciting news for Casper, I told you at the beginning of the week, I put a post up of Old Blue and said there was a big announcement. Well, this is pretty daggum big. So when we dynoed that engine and it made the power, mixed up balls here, made 708 horsepower, I talked to Micah and we were joked around the idea of actually putting mixed up balls in Old Blue as just to see what would happen scenario. So if we get this thing to run faster than 689 in the 8th at 4,200 pounds, the wheels started clicking when I was doing the Godzilla video over at Micah's shop. What if we put mixed up balls in Old Blue right now and see how it runs? Luckily, we have a bunch of good friends. We have the parts. They have the parts going to let us use it. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'm not going to get into more detail about it because we're going to do a live chat with Micah and the other folks coming up pretty soon. But yeah, we're going to think of this as like a little side project for mixed up balls. So why would I do that? Put mixed up balls in Old Blue? Well, a couple reasons. First, I want to show the viewers what the difference between power to weight ratios can be. The engine's going to pretty much be the same. We will probably change the intake and put a single 4-barrel intake on it, a 28-28, all because I have one over at Vizard's house. I just got to dig it out and hopefully it's still there. But I think it'd be pretty cool for the viewers to get to see the difference in nothing but just the weight of the vehicle itself. Alright, talking about Casper, the second part of this, while we're doing this side project with Micah and Old Blue, something else is developing with Mr. Cope, John Cope of Cope Racing Transmissions, the first and foremost Mopar torque flight guy in the country. He's been sending me texts. We've been talking back and forth about the possibility of doing an E40D or a 4R100, which is like the equivalent of a C6 with overdrive, like the 4L80 is to the Turbo 400 in GM talk, if that makes sense. So he brought up the suggestion of making a billet valve body, manual valve body for E40D with trans brake features and still have lockup control. That is freaking awesome. Now, I know that transmission is heavy, will eat up some power, but it will live forever in Casper. So while we're doing this whole side project with mixed up balls and Old Blue, going to be doing some transmission mods with John Cope, Cope Racing Transmissions. I'm really looking forward to that because I've been addicted to his transmission ever since I drove Mr. Haney. I mean, that thing is phenomenal, and if it can feel like that in this truck using a Ford transmission, because that's another thing, he wanted me to keep the Ford transmission. Guys, gals, I'm extremely tired. I've got a lot of work to do to this thing. Carburetors, getting distributor put in it, and getting this thing ready for Thursday night. So you will get to see if all of these bad decisions that I made today end up paying off, or if it's going to be another epic fail. But you got to watch it to find out. Until then, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. I will catch you later.